We've been asked to make this awful looking lawn look great for a party. Today is July 25th. The party is in late September, so we have 2 months. What do you think? You think we can completely transform this? This lawn really looks terrible. First, we got to figure out what caused it to look terrible. This is supposed to be a common Bermuda lawn planted about 10 years ago. It's mostly weeds now, weeds in some lawn. We want to know what kind of lawn it is because that'll give us a hint what the problem is. If you're in a high temperature area and you have a cool season grass and it's the middle of summer and you're watering a lot, it's very likely the problem is fungal related. On this lawn, it looks a little bit fungal-like, but I'm 98% sure there's no fungal issues here. Knowing what kind of lawn it is very unusual for a Bermuda lawn to have fungal issues. It's not impossible, but it's very unusual. And then you combine that with an investigation of the areas that are dry, and everywhere we go that's dry and you feel it or you put in a soil probe, there's no moisture in it. So I'm reasonably sure a big part of this problem is a poorly operating irrigation system that's out of adjustment and that isn't doing what it's supposed to do. If it was a fungal disease, we'd probably find that the areas that look bad are wet and sometimes too wet. And that lack of exchange of air and water and high temperatures causes a fungal disease. I don't see that here. I see dry areas. One professional told him that it needed gypsum and needed to be aerated. Now, aeration is kind of the opposite of what's wrong here. Aeration is when you have a thick buildup of thatch. That's when aerating is really effective. If you look, we have no buildup of thatch here. We have dirt because the lawn hasn't grown. Gypsum is thought of as kind of, you see anything wrong with anything and you say, put gypsum on it. Gypsum can be very effective in certain situations, and it can look like a miracle in certain situations. But specifically, you use gypsum when the calcium in your soil is low and the salt in the soil is high. In this case, I don't think either condition is prevalent. So if we aerated this and we put a nice application of gypsum, it wouldn't change anything. It would look just like this after we're done. Right now, obviously, it's not getting proper care. And my analysis is the watering and the feeding of the soil are the two biggest offenders here. So we're going to address both of those right off the bat. But whether it's water, whether it's poor management of any kind, whether it's a fungus, our solution is going to be very similar, which is we're going to feed the lawn, we're going to feed the soil, really focus on feeding the soil, and we're going to water it properly, and we're going to mow it properly. Now let's say maybe I'm wrong and maybe we find out this is a fungal disease. Well, the reason I'm comfortable with our protocol here is I would do exactly the same thing. I'm going to get this irrigation working just as perfectly as I can, and I'm going to infuse the soil with beneficial life. It's that beneficial life that can kill and defeat the current fungus because beneficial fungi is way stronger than the bad fungus. I'm not even sure what that's called is my problem. There is spurge and a lot of crabgrass. As I walk through it, I see different weeds here and there, but I'd say the predominant weed is crabgrass, and if that's all they had was crabgrass and it was watered properly, it wouldn't look that bad, but even the crabgrass won't grow in some spots because of the lack of water. Let's ignore the fact for now that about 60% of this lawn right now is weeds. If we get the soil healthy and we water it properly and we mow it properly, many of those weed problems will disappear. My idea is let's try to do everything properly. We'll get rid of this brown pattern that's all over. And then after we've done that, if there's still certain weeds that are a problem, then we identify the least toxic way to get rid of them. I didn't know you could turn it off at the head. That's what right in the middle there, huh?
Yeah. Some do have it, some don't.
Oh. So these sprinklers in this big open area are all the same. They're Irrigation I-20s, which is a big gear-driven sprinkler, which we can use because there's good pressure at the site. The spacing is good. We want head-to-head coverage, so we need spacing between 25 and 30 feet. But what I noticed is we have terrible coverage, and that's mostly because the nozzles were either split or broken, or the wrong nozzle was in there, or most commonly, and this is a common problem that I see, it's not well understood that almost all of these heads work best if they're almost all the way open. This dry area here, you might be tempted to put a nozzle and turn the breakup screw way down since it's so close to this sprinkler, but that's not how you do it. What you do is you get all the sprinklers working properly, and you get all these sprinklers around it spraying into this area, not always the sprinkler closest to it. In this case, they put a low angle nozzle on that because they were trying to get this spot. But we're changing the nozzles, we're adjusting the nozzles, we're replacing some nozzles, and really that's the main thing we're doing here. We think that by doing that, we're going to change this coverage dramatically. Now, that's not always the case when I analyze an irrigation system. Sometimes I find pressure's bad, there's not enough heads, not enough valves. You know, it's going to take a major renovation. In this case, the basics were pretty good. We're going to monitor this system up until the party. So I'm going to come here on a day that it waters, and I'm going to look at the result. I'm going to see how the lawn looks. I'm going to see if I can detect dry areas. If I have just one little dry area, that means I need to make a change to a nozzle. If I have dry areas everywhere, that means I probably need a little more time, and there's some other issues like we're addressing right now. So the timing doesn't have a simple answer. You're probably going to be better at it than anybody as long as you're paying attention and you're looking at the result. At the same time, we get the sprinklers working properly. We're going to feed the soil and feed the lawn with our products. We're applying our blend, which is our Optimize, Maximize, Nourish Biosol, and our Penetrate Liquid Biotiller, and that's going to change everything pretty quickly. I'm going to get this soil just as healthy as it can be, and that will also help with moisture retention, which obviously we have a problem with, or I think we have a problem with. We'll see if my theory is borne out by how fast it responds. If you want to see how this mystery comes out and whether we have this looking great for the party or not, please subscribe to our channel and you'll catch all of our videos on this topic, plus a lot of other good ones that we've got coming up.